well, there's an SMTP port open, there's SSH, there's IMAP, looks like there's IMAP 2 and IMAP S. So that was good. I mean, I see some stuff that I want to see, except, what's the difference between IMAP 2 and IMAP S? Well, one of them is not secure. Hint, the one with the S is secure. So we want the secure port to be running, and I want to get rid of, I don't want them to be able to connect to me on a non-secure port. So I don't want to, that's what I said, we don't want the IMAP 2 port, it's insecure. So I went back into this configuration file, and I commented out this section where it talks about what port it's listening on. Now I think port 143 is the default plain text port or unencrypted port, and so if I just set that to port 0, it'll stop listening on, won't listen anymore. So I do a dovecot restart, and here's my command again that I did above, netstat minus atup. That's a very common command. If I were to make a list of commands that I would have you know for this class, this would be on it. The netstat command shows us what ports are open, what ports are listening. So once again, SSH, SMTP, SMTP, IMAP S is listening, and I think IMAP is set up correctly. That was super exciting, huh? All right. Now, it seems like for Bionic, let's see what I did here. Oh, I did put that, okay, I didn't need to leave it here. So there was before Bionic, there was like a slightly different path, so that's just redundant. I stuck that back in the other slide, so we're good. Okay, that set up IMAP. Before we go and install a client, we could install a client at this time to test our IMAP functionality, but I'm going to continue on and see if I can set up the rest of the machine. So for secure sending from remote clients, if those clients have been authenticated, that's what we need to do now. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to install a fuller version of XM4. And it won't mess with, I mean, it replaces our existing installation, but everything should still work. So we install XM4 daemon heavy, which, whatever, has additional functionality.
Heavy daemon.
Yeah, heavy D. Do you guys know who the musician Heavy D is? No. No? He was one of the original Fat Boys. Remember Fat Boys?
No. I think of ice cream sandwiches when you hear that.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. If I had speakers in here, I'd like to listen to Fat Boys, but okay. So why am I generating a certificate again? We already did this channel. We've already generated a certificate there. Now I'm over here on this channel, and I'm doing all this over here. I need to generate a certificate here so that we can also communicate securely. So I'm generating a certificate there. Remember, the certificate has a public key in it, and so I run this command, xm gencert. And it's actually going to ask us now some of this information that needs to be put in the certificate itself. And so it first starts asking us, okay, what state, what country, what city, what's your organization name, what's your organizational unit name, and guess what? All those lines, I don't care what you put. It doesn't even matter what you put. I mean, in a real environment, it would. For our class, it doesn't matter. Because the only line that really matters is this one, the server name. So those couple lines, the server name has to match up with your fully qualified domain name of your mail server. So just to, and I'll reiterate this when we actually do web, secure web. Why would this matter in a real environment? because in a real environment, I would take this certificate and I'd send it off to someone to get it signed. You've seen verified by VeriSign?
Yes.
Okay, so I'd send it to some certificate signer and have them sign it, and all that means is they've established the authenticity of this server. In fact, have any of you heard of the company DigiCert?
Yes.
Big company. They have it's based out of Lehigh, but they have an office here in St. George. I've had a lot of my students, well, I don't know, half a dozen probably go work for them after university. They're growing, or they have been growing like crazy. But anyway, that's what they do, is they just sign certificates all day, validate certificates, that sort of thing. Yeah.
They're one of those companies that they get hacked, well, that's what they're in business.
Oh, yeah.
They're gone.
Yep, and that has happened. Okay, so first the idea is I generated this certificate. I haven't done anything with it, but I generated a certificate. The next thing I want to do is install this secure authentication service. Now, let's talk about installing it, and then we'll see why I had to install it. Okay, so we're going to install this SASL2-bin program. And after we install it, I'm going to go edit this file. Etsy default SASL auth D. Okay, should SASL auth D run automatically on startup? Yes. And that's all I have to change in this file. I took 2 screenshots of that. I don't know why. And then I said SASL auth D restart. And I should maybe, PS and dig, and those would be on my command must knows for this class as well, is I can quickly see, yes, there is a service called SASL auth D that's running. Okay, great. Now, I've made a certificate, I've turned on SASL. So let's go see how I can put them all together to make things work. I'm going to come into this Etsy XM4 configuration template file. And I have to, in this file, I'm going to add information so that it makes a secure, so we're listing on a secure port, and so that we can set up this secure channel. Now, none of this, doesn't matter where I go in this file. I would try to get it to the location as close to you can see in my slides as you can. So I would search for something like this, main 03 TLS options, and I had to type this in. It is case sensitive. So we're saying main TLS enable. TLS, what does that stand for? Transport layer security. That's replacing SSL. What does SSL stand for?
Secure socket layer.
Secure socket layer. So they're kind of analogous or synonymous, however you want to say that. Okay, so I added that. Then I had to tell it what ports that we're working on. The standard ports here are 25. 25 is the SMTP unsecure port. 465 and 587 are the secure ports for sending secure emails. Okay, when they connect to port 465, we're going to enable this transport layer security. I don't know, we just had to list all these standard ports here, but when they connect on 465, we're going to enable TLS. Okay, then, let's put in this garbage. Why don't I explain that line, but we have to force encryption before allowing authentication. At some point, this client wants to talk to this server, and certainly the first thing we're going to do is eventually request that certificate so we can get their public key out of there. But how do I want to say it? Anytime we send credentials to the server, like a username and password, we need to make sure that this session is encrypted before we send our authentication request, because we don't want to transmit our credentials in plain text. So, force encryption. That's just gobbledygook. I would never be able to recreate that on my own. I have no idea. But other than that. Okay, so I added those 4 lines. And then I jumped to the bottom of my file, and there's a section that is called plain Sassel auth D server. And I uncommented all those lines, and so this enables the whole Sassel